Amberlynn Reid's story is a tale full of broken promises, controversy, and faint glimmers of hope that are quickly snuffed out. I'm sure many of you have heard the name Amberlynn Reid before, but most don't know the full story. Being on YouTube for over a decade and leaving a wake of drama behind her. She is most well known for her quote-unquote weight loss journey, which has only resulted in weight gain. She is also known for her many girlfriends, all of whom she will get into drama with, and she is known for a staggering amount of lies told over the years. Meticulously documented, Amber has been called out on all of these lies by dozens of different YouTubers, only to refute them all in the face of evidence, with seemingly no low that she will not stoop to, in her attempts to absolve herself of any guilt. That is the Amberlynn Reid cycle, and this is the Amberlynn Reid story. Amberlynn Reid was born December 27, 1990, in Florida. She described her parents as absent and suffering from substance abuse problems. Because of this, she was taken by the state at a young age, along with her brothers. They were all separated into foster care, and eventually Amber was returned to her parents. She would spend years in this household until eventually being forced to leave. Amber would make a trip to go meet an online girlfriend whom she had been talking to for quite some time, and upon arriving, Amber was informed by her family that she was no longer welcome in her childhood home, now being forced to live with her girlfriend, Casey. A lot of drama would go down during this time, but because Amber hadn't started her journey on YouTube, we wouldn't find out about it until years later. I will go into it deeper when we get to that part of the timeline, but for now, let's just say she accused her girlfriend Casey of some pretty heinous things, and that their relationship was less than ideal. During the end of this relationship, keep in mind Amber was still living with her current girlfriend at the time, she would begin to speak to someone else online. A new girl who she claimed was just a friend would shower her with gifts and affection. Amber and Casey's relationship was on very thin ice, eventually ending when Amber went to live with the new woman who she had been talking to online. Her name was Crystal, and she would be the first of the many girlfriends that Amber would introduce us to throughout the years. After Amber broke up with Casey, she decided that she was going to move in with Crystal. Amber had no job and no car, so no means of moving herself, causing the entire move to be bankrolled by Crystal's parents, a reoccurring theme throughout her time as Crystal's girlfriend. The year was 2013. Amber had a new life, a new girlfriend, new place to live, and she decided that this would be the year that she would begin her weight loss journey on YouTube, creating the channel Amberlynn Reid, dedicated to her weight loss journey.
Hi, my name's Amberlynn, and I wanted to start a YouTube channel for weight loss. I see a lot of videos of other people doing it, and it's so motivating, and it's just something I'm really interested in doing. Today was nothing but eating horrible. I've been on a weight loss journey for a very long time now, and I can make a video stating my weigh-in. My highest weight was 420, but that's my known weight, so it could be even higher than that. I guess I'll end it here. Bye.
At first, Amber's following was relatively small, but they were invigorated and 100% behind Amber in her journey. They were excited to see what progress Amber would make and excited to see what kind of person she was. To kick all of this off, Amber would film her very first weigh-in video. These videos would become very common throughout the years and more depressing as time went on. But for now, Amber started her weight loss journey at 368 pounds. Amber claimed that she had gone on a weight loss journey before, losing a significant amount of weight, and that if she could only do it again, she would get to her target goal. The cracks began to show when, in a couple days during her second weigh-in, she would weigh 3 pounds more than previously. At first, people were still very supportive, but as the weeks turned into months and Amber complained more and more about back pain and binge eating, people began to realize that this was going nowhere. everywhere, and would start criticizing Amber for this. Amber would make videos responding to the hate comments, simply feeding into the whole thing. As the years went by, this snowballed. And when 2014 hit, people were thoroughly annoyed. Her starting weight at the beginning of the year was 377 pounds, up 9 pounds from when her weight loss journey began. And it seemed like Amber had nothing but excuses. She would blame the scale messing up, she would blame her diet, she would blame the amount of pain she was in. It seemed like she had a million reasons why this wasn't working. But shockingly, she would get back on track, actually sticking to her diet, actually sticking to the exercise, and losing some pounds, only to falter and gain it all right back.
I don't even know how to start this. I plan to only eat 1,700 calories besides Thanksgiving, and I already messed up. And today's only the first day. I honestly don't know what to do.
Realizing that she was making absolutely no progress with the main topic of her channel, Amber decided to expand into vlog content. Amber had experimented with vlogs here and there before, but in 2014 it was full swing. Her channel was no longer just about weight loss, it was also about her daily life. And since Amber neither had a job or a driver's license, that means Crystal would come into the picture a lot more often. Amber's girlfriend Crystal was quite shy and didn't like to be featured on camera often. She seemed very nice, quiet, and respectful, just not wanting to be featured on camera that much, as Amber had already amassed a small following of haters, and Amber was obsessed with the hate comments, making videos all the time discussing them, being especially defensive when the people mentioned Crystal.
The reason why I've been seeming so down in my vlogs is because I'm getting a lot of hate over on Ask.fm. Some of you think it's okay to waddle your way over to Ask.fm being completely rude. I try my hardest to accept it and to just be like, okay, there will always be haters. I need to have a tough skin, this and that. But I feel like if you're gonna watch my fucking videos, then you shouldn't disrespect me. I'm just getting really fed up, especially when my girlfriend's involved. I'm tired of people calling her disabled.
Amber had gone from weight loss into a full-blown vlogging channel, and this caused a significant drop in views for her, as her day-to-day life was generally uninteresting. If she would have continued down this path of exclusively vlogging, her channel surely would have faded into obscurity. Whether she realized this or not, she decided to focus her channel back in on her weight loss, posting almost daily and actually sticking to the diet and exercise routines that she had said. And for the first time in her weight loss journey, she was actually down from her starting weight, clocking in at 351 pounds at one point, down 17 from the start. She had a positive attitude, she was holding herself accountable, and actually sticking to the routines. But then she began to talk about how disappointed she was in her lack of progress, complaining that the weight loss wasn't fast enough. The excuses returned, and she faltered on her diet. It was 2014, this early into the Amber timeline, that I began to notice a cycle that would repeat itself into the modern day. Amber will actually make progress, she'll diet and exercise, lose the weight, and have a generally more positive mindset. She will then binge 1 or 2 days thinking that it's okay and she can simply make up for it, and then fall back into her old ways. The excuses return, and all of the weight loss is gone, until eventually she starts making progress again. It is truly like that snake that eats itself. Amber will always be at least in one stage of this process during the entire video. Girlfriends may come and go, but this cycle will stay. And with 2015 coming up, where was Amber at in this cycle? Was she currently sticking to all of her promises? And had the past year and a half of weight loss talk been for nothing? It would all be revealed during Amber's first weigh-in of 2015.
So, I weighed myself, and I honestly thoroughly can't believe this. Like, I used to be down 89 pounds. I want to let you guys know there will be no more weigh-in videos starting this year. I'm going to stop being scale obsessed. I just need to do this. So here's my weigh-in photo from today.
Amber would actually stick to some of the things that she talked about in this video. Her lack of progress last year seemed to resonate with her, and at the beginning of 2015, she would really put her full effort into weight loss. She would return to the gym despite complaining almost every time that she attended, and with a combination of that and exercise, she lost 8 pounds in 1 week alone. If she could just stick to that, or even half of that, she would more than meet her goals for the year. She even began counting calories, which ended up working really well for her. But sadly, none of this could stop Amber's eternal enemy. The very thing that was single-handedly holding back her weight loss journey, in my opinion. It was the amount of times that she was going out to eat and consuming fast food. While exercise is great for your health and I recommend it to everyone, diet is where weight loss truly begins. And the unhealthy eating at restaurants only increased as time went on. Another thing to keep in mind is that Amber had no job during all of this. Her YouTube channel was small and she was making no money off of it. Financially, Amber brought nothing to the table. Crystal's parents would even give her cash sometimes. If it wasn't that, then Crystal was paying for everything else. And because of this, and I believe many other things, Amber and Crystal's relationship began to deteriorate. Crystal would be seen on camera even less than usual, and when she was, it was very clear that she didn't want to be. I truly believe that Amber could sense that something was up. In 2015, Crystal had a nasty cough. Whenever you would see her in a video, she would almost always be coughing, eventually causing Crystal to schedule an appointment with her doctor to find out the source. It would turn out that Crystal only had an ulcer, but even though it was something minor and completely curable, Amber was devastated.
So we just got out of her appointment, and do you mind if I tell them? What does that mean? I said no. No, like you don't mind? Oh god. It turns out that Crystal actually has an ulcer on her esophagus, and we never knew this, and we were so confused. We thought maybe she was talking about the wrong patient. I just got done crying because I know ulcers like don't kill you per se. It just makes me really sad, and it makes me want to sue the place. It's absolutely devastating, and I'm having probably the worst day in a long time. Crystal and I were driving into our neighborhood, and there was something in the middle of the road. It was a freaking cat. I just couldn't even believe it. I had Crystal, like I literally got out of the car while it was still moving. Like I'm not even kidding right now. And I had Crystal pull over, but she wasn't doing it fast enough, so I just got out. I didn't even care. And I went and I looked, and it was the saddest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Just because Crystal was having medical issues didn't mean that we are going to skip any stages in the cycle. No, Amber was still in her full-blown binge era, still eating very unhealthily, always talking about how she was going to return to the gym Monday. I mean, she said this for weeks. And she also seemed very emotional, even more so than usual. Though this kind of behavior is common in modern-day Amber, back then it was more rare, and there were some signs as to why Amber might be a little more upset than usual. Crystal had began to sleep in a different bedroom as Amber's snoring had gotten out of control, and so had Amber in Crystal's eyes. Crystal was far more annoyed with Amber than ever before, almost never appearing in videos anymore, and when she was, she seemed very annoyed with Amber. During the middle of 2015, there would be very little talk of weight loss. Most of Amber's content would consist of vlogs, and without very many Crystal appearances, They weren't that interesting. And just like we had seen before, when interest was waning, Amber decides to reignite her weight loss journey. And her first weigh-in for this journey would be an all-time high for the channel. At around 403 pounds, Amber was up 34 pounds from when she started. And despite Amber talking non-stop about how she was going to truly commit to weight loss this time, her vlogs would tell a different story, where you would see her eat unhealthy food often. Realizing that she would need some help overcoming this addiction, she decided to join Overeaters Anonymous, a program much like Alcoholics Anonymous where a bunch of people struggling with the same problems come together and talk about their issues. Amber would arrive to her first meeting early and in the rain. After looking around for a little bit, Amber gave up and never returned. Given Amber's long history of lies, it is hard to tell if she actually tried to attend the meeting, or if this is another one of her fabricated stories. But one thing that was very real was the amount of weight that Amber was gaining. She had completely faltered on any diet or exercise goals, so much to the point where her scale was unable to read her anymore. The only positive thing that Amber was doing was seemingly learning how to drive, with Crystal spending many hours trying to teach Amberlynn, all to no avail. I really think that this was the breaking point for Crystal, because soon after, Amber would drop a bombshell on us.
Crystal and I were having like a little issue. We were trying to work it out for about 2 weeks. We didn't tell anybody. We just kept everything private completely. And on April 1st, everything kind of blew up into smoke. We decided to break up. I never felt so heartbroken in my life because I love Crystal more than I have ever loved anybody in my whole life. First thought that a lot of people thought was that I'd be moving, and a lot of people cried because they didn't want me to move, and eye-opening how much people care for me here and how I'm loved and wanted. I don't know how some people guessed it. I really have no idea. And there's so many times where I look at her and I just want to hold her and hug her and tell her how much I love her.
Even though they were broken up, they would remain friends, with Amber continuing to live in Crystal's house. But almost immediately, Crystal began seeking a new girlfriend, and Amber knew that her time in the home was limited. So, for the first time in Amberlynn history, she actually went out and applied for a job, Walmart in particular, which she was very nervous about interviewing for. I know it might come as a shocker to some, but she never worked a day at that Walmart. It seemed like one positive thing did come out of the breakup, though. Amber had finally circled back to the point of wanting to start her weight loss journey again. She would count calories, eat healthy. At least that's what she was telling us. At this point, it was very hard to believe anything that she had said. She was saying that the weight loss was so effective at the time that she was getting gallstones and having problems due to the rapid weight loss. She would actually return to Overeaters Anonymous, claiming to have cried over 10 times in an hour, but she never returned and began to fall back into her old ways. And it couldn't have come at a worse time, because it had seemed like Destiny was fed up with Amber living at her house, that Amber would soon have to find another place to live, and she had absolutely no means to. Not a job, not a car. It wasn't looking good for Amberlynn. That is, until Amber began to talk to a new girl online. Her name was Destiny, and she was far different from Crystal, being brash, loud, and unafraid of the camera. Though they had not met in person yet, Amber was head over heels in love with Destiny, and wanted to move out of Crystal's house into Destiny's, which eventually did happen, and it couldn't have come at a better time, as Crystal was absolutely done with Amberlynn's antics. Amber would move in with Destiny and her roommate, and Destiny began to appear on camera all the time, saying vulgar things, making funny faces. Everyone agreed that she was far more entertaining than Amber, and this was just the kick in the butt her content needed. Things were seemingly going great with Amber and Destiny. That is, until tragedy struck. Destiny had a number of pets, including a cat named Gracie, and one day, sadly, Gracie went missing, never to be found again. And fans have long speculated that Amberlynn let the cat out on purpose. You see, Destiny had already reached the maximum amount of pets for that apartment. Gracie seemingly had no love for Amberlynn, and that went both ways. Amber had always dreamed of having her own little kitten, even starting a fund for it long before Gracie went missing. So both the timing of the cat disappearance and the speed at which Amber got the new cat she named Wasabi was suspicious to viewers. And while we will never know the truth of the situation, like many things involving Amberlynn Reid, we all collectively mourn the loss of Gracie, a cat who could smell Amber's BS from a mile away. Destiny, of course, was devastated. This was her cat. She had known it for far longer than Amberlynn and was holding out hope that it would return, unlike Amber, who was seemingly unfazed by the situation and certainly not upset by it. Amber and Destiny would also get into a bit of controversy. You see, Amber and Destiny had a 15-year-old friend who would come and hang out with them, even appearing in some of Amber's vlogs. But the issue is how Amber and Destiny would speak around this child. Things would often get not safe for work and a bit creepy, which they were rightly criticized for, but it seemed to have no effect on them continuing to hang out with this 15-year-old girl. They would also get into another controversy in the year of 2015, but this one was far bigger. A video would surface of Destiny slapping her puppy in the face, and Amber tossing a cat around like it was a handbag. This would garner them a lot of hate. I don't want to include it in the video because it was definitely uncool, and I'm sure caused the animals a lot of stress. But it seemed like the animals weren't the only ones stressed out, because there were money troubles around the house. Now that Amber was living there, it seemed like Destiny didn't have quite enough money to support all of their habits, and Amber would begin to sell a number of her things just so she wouldn't have to work. Amber would also start applying to jobs. One job that she applied to in particular would be Destiny's job, as a care assistant, a person who will come in and help either the elderly or disabled with daily tasks they cannot complete on their own. On top of applying for jobs, Amber would dedicate herself to a new weight loss journey, joining Weight Watchers, vlogging her eating healthy food. It looked like things were on track. She was even hired by Destiny's work, and Amber really enjoyed the job, despite the physical toll that it all took on her, which she would talk about often, with her feet and back being constant sources of pain. But despite all of this progress, the cycle was inevitable, and Amber would eventually begin to eat unhealthy food once more. There would also be another slew of controversies involving Amber and Destiny, the first of which being their use of mobility scooters in the Walmart. Mobility scooters are extremely limited in stores and should only be used by the people who absolutely need them. Amber and Destiny would hop on those things like they were available to everyone. They really liked Walmart, it would be featured in their vlogs all the time, and this made it easier for Amber, but not easier for any other poor individual who might need that scooter and not have access to it. I think you guys are beginning to see why the hate for her has been a snowball effect, because it's just controversy after controversy at this point. The next one they would be involved with would be Destiny saying the N-word. Even though it was only the rapper version, Destiny still got a fair amount of heat for using it in one of Amber's vlogs. I have absolutely no idea what possessed Amber to keep that in her video. This wasn't the only problem that Destiny was having though. She was also suffering from some medical issues, complaining of a fair amount of pain and being concerned that it could be some heart problems. They decided that they would go to a doctor and see what was wrong with her. Amber decided to vlog the whole thing, which would get her a fair amount of kickback, as she did nothing to comfort Destiny in these stressful times. This theme of people having either horrific problems or medical issues and Amber vlogging it would be reoccurring, and this is probably the least offensive of these instances. Destiny only had acid reflux, which was due to poor diet, but Amber's glorification of everything certainly didn't help. Amber would also give us a weigh-in around this time to see just how much progress she had made. She was on Weight Watchers, she claimed to be sticking to it, and we were excited to see the progress. But when it came in at 420 pounds, people knew that she had been lying about the Weight Watchers, and she would soon after officially quit the program. It was clear that all of this added weight was affecting Amber too, as she was complaining more and more about how much pain she was in from working her job. The only thing that seemed to bring Amber some solace around this time was shopping. She was collecting a paycheck for one of the first times in her life and really wanted to enjoy spending the money. She claimed that some weeks she worked every single day and had very little time off. We would find out months later that this was a complete lie. Despite Amber's added income, they were still having money issues, especially when their roommate decided to move out. Many claim that it is because Amber moving in was just too much. And whether it was the added stress of money issues or problems at work, Amberlynn had made absolutely no progress with her weight loss journey, weighing in again at 441 pounds. Her and Destiny would eat out in almost every vlog, and they would blame it on work, stating they simply didn't have enough time to prepare their own meals. This is also around the time of Amberlynn Reid's infamous vegan art, claiming that she would be eating vegan at least one day a week. But this would not last. And despite the financial problems they were having, they seemed to adopt even more animals, most notable being Twinkie Star, who I consider to be the hero of this story. This dog is like the Rocky Balboa of dogs. He didn't hear no bell. What I'm trying to say is Twinkie will suffer a lot throughout these years, still under Amberlynn's ownership in the modern era. Things certainly were changing in the Reid household, and one of the more notable changes was in Destiny. Her outgoing personality seemed diminished. She appeared less and less thrilled to be on camera, and it's kind of weird how this also coincides with their talk of getting married and having a baby. It seemed like the moment that honeymoon period was over and Destiny started to become annoyed, Amber wanted to lock things in, fearing a repeat of what had happened with Crystal, and those fears were probably well founded. Because now the year was 2016, and we all know what that means. New year, new weight loss goals for Amberlynn. Amber decided that she would give weight loss another try, but there was one simple problem. Her scale could no longer weigh her, so she had to get a new one, and she weighed in at around 460 pounds, up almost another 40 since the last weigh-in I had seen, and around the time of April she was already up to 470. For reference, she began her weight loss journey at around 360 pounds in 2013. She would start to talk about the pain a lot more, talked about falling in the shower, talked about going on my 600-pound life possibly. She was also blaming it on other people, calling Destiny an enabler, saying that she needed more help in her weight loss journey if she was to be successful. I feel like this formed another crack in her and Destiny's relationship. As Crystal had done before her, Destiny began to appear less and less on camera. It was still vastly more than Crystal ever had, but the change was noticeable, and it's more understandable when I talk about the next controversy that Amberlynn would find herself in. Destiny's grandfather would have a stroke and was in the hospital receiving medical treatment, a very scary thing for not only her grandfather but the entire family. Amberlynn decided to vlog all the way to the hospital in the car, explaining this very personal situation of Destiny's to everyone who would listen to her, and being pretty insensitive about the whole thing, kind of like she was when Gracie went missing. I've noticed that if something doesn't directly impact Amber, it doesn't seem to bother her much, or at least she'll act like it does. Amber had grown pretty emotionally unstable during these times. She was reacting to tons of hate, feeding into it, and was seemingly upset all of the time over one thing or another. This couldn't have come at a worse time, as Destiny's mom was going through some medical problems, and the two would be moving to Kentucky to quote-unquote assist her, though not much of that would be done because Amber was about to switch up her content once again. She began to host things called mukbangs. I'm sure you guys have seen it before, but it's just a person eating a massive quantity of food in front of a camera, the most infamous of which being Nikado Avocado. Amber, who, keep in mind, started this channel as a weight loss channel, would begin to eat massive amounts of food for the camera, and the fact that these videos did great view-wise only incentivized her to do more. Noticing the negative effects of the mukbangs and unhealthy eating on her body, she decided that she was going to try a 14-day vegan challenge. Amber had attempted many challenges in the past, like the squat challenge or the drinking water challenge, but did not have the dedication to follow through on them. So people were not shocked when she failed the vegan challenge literally day one. But all of this would be overshadowed by another controversy that Amber would find herself in. It would be the time that she vlogged a child's grave. One of Destiny's friends had tragically lost a child young, and to pay her respects, Destiny wanted to go out to the grave. Amber would vlog on the way there, unexpectedly chipper, and take footage of the actual grave itself. I highly doubt that Amber received consent from the mother to do this, and I find it very disturbing how positive and upbeat she was on the way to a child's grave. Personally, I think this is one of the worst things that Amber has done. It really goes to show who she is as a person, and I guess it's why I wasn't shocked when Amber would find herself in her next bit of controversy. It would be over her job. After arriving in Kentucky, Amber would spill the beans on her old job. Amber had claimed for months now that she was working full-time and really putting in her full effort, but this video I'm about to show you would reveal that not only was that a lie, but so were many other things.
I feel like I need to kind of admit to some things that I have lied about. The reason why we moved to Kentucky, I said it's because Destiny wanted to be there for her mom. I said we wanted to take care of her. I think I might have said that in a vlog. I don't know why, but it's not the truth. We were just tired of Florida. I don't know if you guys will consider that a lie or not, but it's something I've said that, you know, I wasn't 100% like truthful about. The next thing is about my girlfriend Destiny's weight gain and if she's actually gained weight. I told you guys that Destiny has not gained weight since she's been with me. I've said that at least 100 times, but she has gained weight since she's been with me. Something else I've lied about is the job I had in Florida. I told you guys that I was a PCA worker at a assisted living facility full-time, and I wasn't. I was a PCA worker at assisted living facility, but I was not full-time. I worked 4 hours. I was part-time. I was always on call, but I was part-time. I lied to you guys and said I was a full-time. I just want to be a healthy person. Like, this video is so raw, you guys. People think I'm promoting obesity and I'm not.
So yeah, the big one for me is that Amber didn't move to Kentucky because of Destiny's mom. In fact, Destiny's mom wasn't even sick. They just moved because they wanted to. What a horrible, pointless lie. I'm sure some of her legitimate fans were actually concerned for Destiny's mom. And I'm not sure if Destiny was really cool with this either. She definitely was less fond of Amber than ever before, throwing shade at Amber any chance that she got. Amber had also seemingly given up her current weight loss journey and had not weighed herself in a very long time, going back to her more regular style of vlog content. different, especially now that she was in Kentucky with some new characters in a new environment. And Amber, who was now making money off of YouTube, was going to take full advantage of this. She would film anything and everything, including a couple of things that she probably shouldn't have. Amberlynn would find herself in hot water once again when she would film someone's child without their permission. This would not be the last time that Amber would do this either. When Amber's around, you stand a chance of being vlogged at any time. Whenever she thinks something is YouTube worthy, she just pulls out her phone and starts recording. And I guess she decides to do this around kids whose parents are not cool with them being put up online. Extremely understandable, but Amber just doesn't seem to get it. A prime case of Amber vlogging when nobody else wanted her to would be Destiny's 21st birthday party. Amber would get pretty intoxicated and make a fool of herself in front of all of Destiny's family, and much to her embarrassment.
Just don't drink. I can't even stand up without falling on the couch. No, one of the best nights in a while. Destiny took... Oh, shit! I haven't been drinking this much in a long time. Don't think different of me. I am only human. I can't imagine any of you not drinking this much. Like, it just happens.
It seemed like Destiny was not very happy with Amberlynn's behavior during her 21st birthday, and the relationship would get even worse when Amber decided to vlog Destiny during another one of her health scares, which she would do seemingly every time Destiny had one now. But it didn't seem like Destiny was the only one having health problems, as commenters began to notice that Amber would appear with strange blisters on her arms, leading many to speculate that she had diabetes. Amber would also claim that she got a new job, and that it was a government job. Whether this was true or not, Amber and Destiny did move out of her parents and into their own place, so I assume that Amber was actually cutting some kind of an income. Amber would go absolutely crazy decorating the place with her many trophies from shopping hauls, and everything would be relatively peaceful around this time. Not the best, but peaceful. That is, until one of the biggest things ever in Amber lore happened. It would start inconspicuously enough with Amber simply talking trash on one of her first exes, Casey. You may remember me talking about Casey during the beginning of this video. It was one of Amber's first girlfriends and the first one that she moved in with. Amber would make a video talking about how bad of a partner Casey was, how Casey had done numerous illegal and immoral things to Amber, and that Amber was a victim in this relationship. To everyone's shock, Casey actually made a response video on the situation. They talked about how it was actually Amber that had perpetrated these things, and that they were not going to stand by and allow Amber to besmirch their good name. Here is Casey talking a little bit about the situation.
Today, I was told by my fiance while she was at lunch for work that someone messaged her on Facebook, and it was a link to a video. Well, of course, she had me call her because it was a very private matter. And it was a video of my ex Amber. And I asked her, what about it? Because, I mean, me and Amber broke up 6 years ago. My fiance told me that she's calling me an abuser and a rapist. That got my blood boiling because that's not true. 100% not true. It hurt a lot. The time we were dating, when we started dating, I should say, I was 15 years old. 15 when we met. She's 2 years older than me. It was probably 4 months after we started living together. We were up one night. I was watching something on TV, a music video, I believe. And I don't remember why we argued. I don't remember the argument. But she grabbed my arm with her nails. And I will say this, I may have laid a hand on her a few times. That was in self-defense. I didn't do it, and I damn well did not rape her. When we were first dating, I got a message from her, upset. She made out with a girl while we were dating, while she was still in California. 3 times. Now, she was talking to Crystal. Boo! about 6 or 7 months before we broke up. No, actually, probably longer than that. Probably almost a year. Talking to her almost a year before me and her broke up. Christopher bought her so many things while we were together. So many things. Yes, we did love each other at one point, but geez, she went as far when I would hang out with my best friend Alex. She's been my best friend since high school. God, it seems like we're related, so we call each other cousins. But when I would hang out with her, she would be okay at first. And all of a sudden, I'd get text messages an hour later bitching me out for hanging out with her. She went as far as to accuse me of sleeping with my best friend. I had such mental issues from being with her that I ended up for a weekend from Friday to Monday in a mental hospital. It was 6 years ago. I've been over it. I've moved on. I have a different life. I have a better life.
Casey had receipts to back up a good number of these things too, proving that Amber had been flirting with Crystal before they had even broken up. Amber's response to Casey's response would be one of the most iconic moments in Amberlynn Reid history. Amber would start the video by reading out a poem that she had wrote specifically about her time in a relationship with Casey, unintentionally producing one of the funniest pieces of content she ever has.
Speaking Up by Amberlynn Reid. Let's see. Who does everyone believe? Let's start gambling our life, rolling dice like knives on a platter. Who will survive? Will it be the false nightmare you spit, or the reality I have tied to a place of sadness, and now revealed and altered into madness? I'm my own narrator, yet you stole the pen to deny, to lie, to pry in a life that was fine. RAPE, rain and petals eavesdrop. I used the wrong word. Rain and petals eavesdrop. I used the wrong word. Rain and petals eavesdrop. I used the wrong word. My mental hygiene has been rotten and stirred.
Rain and petals eavesdrop. I used the wrong word. I know that it's a situation that I shouldn't find comical, in fact it's quite dark, but there's just a certain magic in her repeating that like 4 or 5 times that floors me without fail. I think it goes without saying that this poem did not have the desired effect she intended, believing that this would make people sympathetic towards her situation with Casey when it in fact did the opposite. Amber would delete the video calling out Casey, attempting to let the drama die. The time was around December 2016. A lot had happened this year. Many controversies Amber had weathered, and she was seemingly at a financially stable position in her life for the first time, showering Destiny with gifts during Christmas, leading many to speculate on just how bad the relationship had gotten, as many accuse Amber of this type of spoiling behavior in attempts to keep her girlfriends. It was pretty clear that Destiny was on the way out. She was generally annoyed by Amber and on her phone almost all of the time, leading people to speculate that Destiny was doing to Amber what Amber did to Casey, talking to yet another girlfriend before they had broken up. Comments on Amber's relationship with Destiny, or critical comments in and of themselves, began to disappear from Amber's channel. People were questioning what had happened. Was Amber going through and singling out every negative comment? But it turned out that Amber had finally installed mods into her channel, which is understandable because as her channel grew, so did the hate, something which Amber does very little well under. The year might be ending, but the controversies certainly weren't, because Amber would once again vlog at an inopportune moment. Destiny's uncle had sadly passed away, and Amber decided to vlog the whole day of the funeral, basically everything but the service, and she made the entire thing about herself, the way she looked, how she was doing, how much pain she was in, showing little to no concern for Destiny, what I believe to be another straw that broke the camel's back type deal. It was finally 2017, and like the beginning of every other year, Amber was going to give us a weigh-in/weight loss update. And this time people were shocked when she actually weighed in 3 pounds less than she did before, at 467 pounds. Not a massive improvement, but way better than what we had seen before. It turns out that this weight was not accurate as the scale was under error, and after re-weighing herself, she came in at 489 pounds, her all-time high. And despite stating that she would do otherwise, she continued to eat unhealthily in vlogs with Destiny. January would be a pretty busy month. Destiny would of course have to go back to the hospital for medical issues. Amber would vlog the whole thing, and then Amber said she also quit her government job after just growing tired of it, and finally making some significant money off of YouTube. But then something would happen that everyone saw coming, but would still shake the very foundation of Amberlynn content for years to come.
Hey guys, so I have actually already filmed this video. It was over 18 minutes of me just... I feel like it was me making a fool out of myself. I did nothing but cry the whole video, hence why my cheeks are so red right now. Why is Destiny's Facebook say that she's single? Why aren't you on her profile picture? Like, what is happening? On January 13th, ironically enough, it was actually Friday the 13th, Destiny broke up with me. Since then, I have filmed videos, I've put on fake smiles, I have cried every single time I shut off the camera, I have screamed in my pillows, I am so in love with her still, and I want her to know that, like I've told her, that I will never give up.
Destiny had finally had enough of her relationship with Amber. It was clear that things were on the rocks for quite some time, but I gotta say, this happened a lot quicker than I believed it would. Not that I was watching around the time or anything, but I had seen so many clips of Destiny that it would be hard to believe that they were only together for a couple of years. I guess the explanation is that her time with Destiny was mired with controversy. It was also revealed that Destiny had been messaging other women prior to the breakup, and that while things were amicable, they certainly weren't on the best of terms. They would still live together and remain friends, but there would still be underlying issues in said friendship. Amber would constantly be trying to win Destiny back when it was clear that she had already moved on. And Destiny moved on pretty quick, finding a new girlfriend, I believe within a month of breaking up with Amber. Amber would become a lot sadder during this time. She would start drinking more on camera, crying a lot more, and talking about how she had to get herself out there. And despite this spiral that she was in, she was actually losing weight, which seemed to push her to a more positive mindset. That is, until Destiny began to bring her new girlfriend around, and the breakup truly sank in to Amberlynn. I believe that for a time she thought that things could work out, but as soon as Destiny started bringing her new girlfriend around the house, it was over. Destiny, her new girlfriend, and Amber would all hang out together, and it seemed like things were going okay, despite Amber being a third wheel. But then, screenshots would surface of Destiny's new girlfriend bad-mouthing Amber. And you can't really blame her, as this is her current girlfriend's ex, and she is hanging around more often than not. And it seemed like all of the negative behaviors that Amber displayed got even worse when Destiny moved out. The drinking, the crying, everything. But then, one day, things completely changed, as Amber had found a new girlfriend, just as she had done before, kicking off a new saga. This new girlfriend of Amber's would be my personal favorite, Becky. Amber met Becky in her comments section under one of her videos. Becky really believed in Amber, and a romantic relationship sprouted from there. It is unknown when they first started talking, but assumed that it was still during the Destiny relationship. Amber was very proud of Becky, and Becky was a breath of fresh air. As where Destiny had been crude and kind of vulgar at times, Becky was incredibly well-spoken and very quiet. A stoic stoic, as some might say. When she did speak, it was usually to say something funny or tell an interesting story, and even though Amber was nervous to film Becky because of past issues in the relationship with it, Becky didn't seem to mind, almost being the perfect mix of Crystal and Destiny. It was during the beginning of this new relationship that I began to notice something personally. I've heard much talk about it, but seeing it firsthand is something else entirely. It was the way that Amber adapted her personality to her new girlfriend. Think about it. When Amber was with Crystal, she would speak softer, she was more shy, more quiet. Then when she was with Destiny, she was brash and abrasive, unafraid to tell gross stories or crude jokes. And now with Becky, we see a little bit of a return more to that calmness. People even said that she would emulate Becky's accent. The longtime Amberlynn viewers had seen it and were pretty uncomfortable with it, being unsure of Amber's actual beliefs or feelings. And this sentiment would not only be held by commenters. Becky would introduce Amber and her audience to a plethora of new characters. There was Eric and Ricky, and there was Rafe and Hannah, both couples that were friends with Becky. More casual Amber viewing fans might recognize Rafe based on her beautiful singing voice.
Rocky Top Tennessee, Rocky Top Tennessee.
But Rafe wasn't a wonderful addition to the Amber cast just because of her beautiful singing voice. She was also a fountain of drama. You see, Rafe is Becky's ex-girlfriend, and I think because of that reason, she always had a chip on her shoulder against Amber, despite the fact that Rafe was dating Hannah, the other woman in the Rocky Top Tennessee video. Fun fact about Rafe is that she's really into dolls, like one of those people who buys a doll and treats it like a human child. Seeing all of these things, we should have known that it was only a matter of time before Rafe would get into drama with Amber. In what might be the most drama scenario ever, Rafe would confide in her roommate, a fellow friend of Becky's named Eric, that she didn't like Amber much, that she thought Amber was fake, and that Becky should leave her. Eric would promptly tell Amber all of this, sparking an argument between the two. The tricky thing about life is that two things can be true at once. Was Amber guilty of all this behavior? Yes. And is it snaky of Rafe to go live and talk about all of these things to Amber's haters? Hell yes, but I'm here for it.
Why do you say her life revolves around food? Because that's all she would talk about. It's either Becky or food or YouTube. The girl got freaked out if, like, her pant leg rolled up a little. Like, she's so seriously, like, self-conscious about her legs. Let's see. You guys seemed like you had so much fun. What changed your mind? We did have fun. We did have a lot of fun. And I thought I had just, it was like a week or two ago. And I thought I had, like, talked to Eric in confidence and just got things off of my chest that I felt like I was holding in because I didn't feel like I really knew Amberlynn. I felt like I was seeing all these different faces and really just wanted to know her. And I think I may have called her Amberlynn once. And, like, she just has these annoying little tics, like smacking gum, constantly talking about food, and I don't know. Would I date Amberlynn? No, I wouldn't. I would run far and fast. And in all honesty, that is exactly what I told Becky whenever I looked her up and looked at some of her stuff, and I was like, girl, run far, run fast, get away from this. It's gonna be bad.
While Amber and Becky's relationship with Rafe would recover, it would take a while, and for the foreseeable future it would just be Amber and Becky in Amber's videos, which wouldn't be a problem as the chat had grown quite fond of Becky. They were truly seeing all of those characteristics that I'd talked about earlier, and found her far more interesting than Amber. Not wanting to lose the spotlight, Amber would kick off the year of 2018 with new weight loss goals. With a starting weight of 488, she had actually lost a pound from her heaviest weight, and she promised us that not only would she not be eating out in January, but Becky would also be included in this weight loss journey. Amber would focus in, she would exercise more, she would diet more, posting all of these videos explaining how she was doing. And before we knew it, she had lost 8 pounds, down to 480, all in a single week. But week 2 went far worse, with admitted binge eating and candy. And by the 3rd week of January, she had completely reverted to her normal self. Despite this, she managed to lose weight during the entire month of January 2018. A small victory in the face of what would be 2 of the hardest years of her life, and she would start the next month of February at around 470 pounds. Though the weight loss journey was going good, some other things at home were not doing so well. Commenters had found out the location of Becky's job and actually managed to get her to quit because of all of the calls that she had been receiving there. Becky also grew insecure about the hate comments, which seemed to roll off her before. Despite the few people that hated her, the vast majority loved her, with Becky being open and genuine about certain struggles that she had faced in her life. All of this made Amber look even more fake. Becky and Twinkie are by far fan favorites. Another weird thing that would happen around this time is that Destiny would begin to appear in videos once again. It would get even more weird when Amber would be openly flirty towards Destiny in front of her new girlfriend Becky, which is strange because it seemed like the relationship was advancing as Amber had moved in with Becky. But this wasn't the only change in Amber's life right now, as she was put on depression medication by her doctors, as well as having her liver function tested after she noticed a yellowness to her skin. The next couple months would be a combination of failed challenges, failed weight loss goals, and crying on camera. And by mid-2018, she was around 508 pounds, her heaviest during the whole weight loss journey. None of this seemed to faze Amber, as she was in her full-blown clickbait era. This is something that Amber had done for years, but now that she was making a livable amount of money off YouTube, she would really go deep into clickbait territory. There would be videos talking about weight loss, but we had not received a weigh-in for months. Videos talking about diet, but then the next video would be a candy review. She was all over the place, and there was no better proof as to when she rejoined Weight Watchers. She has quit and rejoined Weight Watchers numerous times, almost always saying that it just doesn't work for her. Amber was also facing increased problems with her health, suffering more mobility issues and talking about pain a lot more. Commenters also began to speculate if Amber was physically able to bathe herself anymore, and years later Amber would reveal that she was not, despite claiming in almost every other video that she was either getting into the shower or just getting out. Amber was doing more weigh-ins and continuing to go up with everyone, and this caused Becky to receive some of the first controversy that she personally had, as people were saying that she was in part responsible for enabling all of this behavior from Amber. Amber had reached 525 pounds, the largest that she had ever been, and so had Becky, coming in at 275, up over 20 pounds since joining Amber on her weight loss journey. Amber was living a more sedentary life than ever, and this was self-admitted. She would talk about days where she wouldn't even leave her bedroom, claiming she simply had no motivation. She was using scooters almost exclusively at stores, as walking was a big problem for her. When she did walk for a significant amount of time, she would always complain about pain in her lower back and blisters on her feet. Around October, there would be a little bit of hope, as Amber would talk about meeting with a dietitian. Amber said that this dietitian understood her problems and would help her get on the right track. It turns out that Amber met this dietitian on Instagram, and after annoying said dietitian, she blocked Amber. I can't really blame the dietitian, as Amber would upload videos talking about her diet, and then the next one would literally be a mukbang. I mean, if you're a professional and you attach your name to something, you want it to be successful, and I think that this person saw that Amber wasn't truly dedicated. Amber was outraged by all of this. How dare she block her in her time of need, after she said she would help? It just goes to show that Amber's narcissism was out of control. The constant adoration of her fans surely didn't help anything, as the people either loved Amber or hated her. 2018 was not a good year for Amber. Medical issues, problems with Becky and friends. It was a tough one, but 2019 would make that pale in comparison, because 2019 is well known throughout the Amberverse as the year that she completely fell off the wagon. Like every year before, it all started with a beginning of the year weigh-in, and it was quite shocking. Coming in at 560 pounds, it was her largest weight ever. Amber stated that this was a wake-up call and she would finally begin the weight loss journey she intended 6 years ago.
January 2019, at 560 pounds. I'm doing a front shot, both sides, and a back shot. I want to use this to motivate me, to motivate others, and I am very embarrassed posting this, but I know I need to because I want to be able to come back on here and see changes. I will be posting them monthly. I want to wear the same exact outfit so I can get a better reading. And I also walk forward and I walk backwards just to get an idea of where I'm at.
There was a lot of hope in this video. Amber truly thought that by the end of 2019, she would come back, film another video, and there would be notable progress. But sadly, it was not to be, as this would be Amber's most unhealthy year to date. People began to notice that Becky was doing most everything around the house, acting more like a caretaker than a girlfriend. Amber would also face new health problems due to her increasing weight, along with the previous ones being exasperated. There was also this general sense that Amber was getting saltier. She seemed more annoyed with her commenters and viewers than ever, and there would be no better example of this than the lovingly termed Shrimpgate. I give the credit to Mr. Snowflake on that one, and I gotta say, it perfectly sums up the situation. Amber turned some of the last loyal people she had against her with this one. Amber would make a video where she sat down eating shrimp in a mukbang fashion, and she would talk about how people interested in her weight loss were simply obsessed with her, and that it was very unhealthy for them. She might as well have spat in the face of anybody who stuck with her and defended her throughout all of these years, saying that they were weird for simply being interested in what a creator started their channel for. This caused a lot of people to unsubscribe from Amberlynn, and in the first time of her channel's history, her subscribers were going in reverse, which caused her to take her weight seriously again. You'll notice this pattern that when interest is waning in Amber or when she's involved in a controversy, she'll simply start a new weight loss journey. Many speculate it is to get heat off of her and give her an excuse to explain the hate, that people are hating on her simply because of her weight and not because of the horrible things she said to her loyal subscribers. She would actually stick to what she said, filming more exercise and healthy food, but many people assumed that it was just that, filming, and that behind the scenes, Amber's behavior was far more unhealthy. Despite Amber's struggles, Becky was actually making some progress, losing 40 pounds. While Amber would attempt to follow Becky's lead, she would not find it during this year, making mukbang video after mukbang video, until Amber found herself in another bit of controversy. I call this one the Becky's Mom Has Cancer mukbang. During one of Amber's mukbangs, which she was doing quite frequently now, she would mention that Becky's mom has cancer. A terrible thing, and the way that Amber described it would be as if she went out to the store to buy some groceries, to giggling and laughing about whatever a couple minutes later. To me, this ranks up there with the Child's Grave vlog. It's really tasteless, and she definitely could have been a little more formal when announcing something so serious to her audience of tens of thousands of people. Despite this, Amber would do a bit to help Becky's mom with her cancer, even setting up a GoFundMe so Amber's fans and other people could donate towards treatment costs. This would lead to another controversy as it was discovered that Becky's mom was covered under some pretty good insurance by Becky's dad. The insurance would cover all of her treatment costs, and there was no reason for the GoFundMe to even exist. People who covered Amberlynn Reid would go wild with this. And if there's one thing Amber hates, it's a critical video of her. Seeing the influx of hate since the GoFundMe debacle, Amber would lash out at Becky's mom behind the scenes, leaving a couple of nasty voicemails to Becky's mom, talking about how Becky's mom was unappreciative of everything Amber had done during her time with cancer. It's really some of the most entitled, disgusting stuff I have ever heard, and I want you guys to hear it for yourselves. Keep in mind, Amber never intended for the public to hear any of this.
I'm tired of not being appreciated when I try to help you the best that I can, and it's just frustrating. This whole situation is super frustrating.
Talking to Becky's mom,
and I
right after she had her surgery. I'm going to put it out there how Amberlynn really treated Becky's mom.
I am not trying to argue with you. That is the last thing I want to do since you just got out of surgery. I don't want to cause any more stress onto you, onto Becky, onto anyone in your family, onto myself, because that's just not going to fix anything. I am just tired of the added drama onto my YouTube, and I'm tired of not being appreciated when I try to help you the best that I can, and it's just frustrating. This whole situation is super frustrating. Not once have you thanked me personally for the money I was going to give you, for the video I made, for the backlash I'm getting for sticking up for you. Not once did you say sorry for any of the things that you have brought to my channel that is in a negative light.
Now you're probably asking yourselves, how does Becky feel about all this? Amber is being pretty rude to her mom, who is sick. Well, I'll answer your question with this. Becky wasn't feeling much of nothing. People began to realize about midway through the year that something was very different with Becky. She seemed extremely out of it, almost in a zombie-like state. Becky was very different from what she was just a couple months ago, and it was revealed that she was taking mood stabilizers that were affecting her in a pretty negative way. Becky even says that she doesn't remember much from around this time in her life, that the medicine had that much of an effect on her. And by the end of the year, it was very apparent that something was wrong. Amber didn't seem to mind, as she found Becky more subservient in this way, and would only mention Becky's change after she had stopped the medicine and come back to her senses. Becky would state years later that this was the single darkest period in her lifetime. As 2019 ended and 2020 began, things were very dark in the Amberverse. Becky was a shell of her former self. Amber's weight loss journey was completely off the rails. Things were pretty rough for the both of them, and the last thing that they needed was to be involved in yet another controversy. One night, Twinkie the dog would get pretty sick, and instead of taking him to seek medical treatment, Amber decided to go out and get some Cajun shrimp pasta. I'm sure it's really good stuff, but it's definitely not as good as my man Twinkie. Amber claimed that there was no vet available to treat him, but it was very clear that there was, and Amber simply did not care enough to take the dog in. Without medical intervention, the dog did recover, but Twinkie has had to deal with stuff like this for years. It's why I refer to him as the Rocky Balboa of dogs. As usual, Amber would receive a fair bit of pushback for this, especially when people found out that there were vets available for her to take Twinkie to. Like I said, these were dark times, but there was a silver lining. Becky realized that this medication was affecting her adversely and decided to switch to a different kind. This would do wonders for Becky, pulling her out of that zombie-like state, returning her to normal. Another good thing that was happening was Amber losing weight behind the scenes, getting all the way down to about 520 pounds near the start of 2020, down about 52 pounds from where she was at her all-time high. This led to increased support, and the cycle began again with Amber binging. Amber wasn't on the best of tracks, but she was still doing far better than last year. Things were really looking up. And then the pandemic hits. Everywhere's locked down, everyone wants to be isolated. I'll admit, it really wasn't a good time for losing weight, and this did affect Amber with her staying home more and getting food delivered. Amber would spend this newfound free time uploading to TikTok, which she really seemed to enjoy. She would also have yet another medical scare, but this time it would lead to something pretty serious. After noticing an excessive amount of bleeding, Amber went into the doctor to get some scans. Amber stated that she was too large for the scans and had to wait for tests to get back, and the test results were not good. They revealed that Amberlynn was suffering from uterine cancer. She would proceed to make a heartfelt video explaining her diagnosis and the process moving forward.
Hello. So I've told the people who matter and who I know in real life, but I just wanted to update you guys. I've been having panic attacks. Oh god. So I got my results back, and I do have cancer. I have womb cancer. And so it's uterine cancer. And I know it's my fault because I'm sorry guys, because I didn't see someone. I knew there's been a problem for so long.
All of this would cause Amber to take her health seriously, and the audience was very supportive. They knew that this was a horrible time for Amber, and despite all the things she had done, the lies she had told, they didn't wish this upon her. Amber would require a hysterectomy to take all of the cancer out, and to get this hysterectomy, she would be required to lose some weight before the procedure. Amber decided that she would buckle down, diet, exercise, and do everything she could to give herself the best shot, only to gain 7 pounds before the surgery. But despite this, it would go off without a hitch, and Amberlynn has been cancer-free ever since. That isn't to say that she won't still milk her old cancer in recent videos for a couple of cheap views. Things were finally looking up for Amber and Becky. They had moved into their own place, Amber was cancer-free, and they were going to begin weight loss again. But tragedy would strike when sadly Becky's mom would pass from her cancer. Was Amber supportive? Did Amber double down and really try to help Becky out? No. She still kept using Becky as a hired help kind of figure. It was around this time that Becky would state that she had to help Amber with the bathroom as well. A very, very bleak time in the Reid household. People would also notice around this time that Amber had been wearing the same bra for months on end. It was very identifiable due to the wear it had suffered and its polka dots. And despite Amber telling us that she had numerous of this bra and that she was showering, she would later on state that neither of these were true. It was safe to assume that Amber's mental condition was deteriorating. She would quit all talk of weight loss and stick to vlogs, which was never a good sign. The binging would ramp up, and so would the crying once again. Amber would also be full of excuses during this era. One of my favorite instances of this is when Amber ordered a sandwich. She acted like she ordered a different, more healthy version, and they simply gave her the wrong sandwich. Her reaction is priceless.
Oh, they gave me the wrong sandwich. Oh no! Turkey with bacon and cheese. I'm really, really upset right now. Here we go.
Despite the obvious problems in their relationship, Becky and Amber would become engaged, with Amber stating that she didn't want to tell us how Becky had proposed, but it was very romantic. It would later come out that Amber funded the rings with her money, and basically coerced this whole thing into happening. This would also be the beginning of the live stream era, where Amber and Becky would go live, mostly battling hate comments. Amber would sign up for Weight Watchers again, and quit. It felt like everything from 2019 was repeating itself all over again. But it was the year 2021, and things were actually far different. Becky had grown tired of being Amberlynn's caretaker and attempted to break up with her once. Amberlynn simply laughed the situation off and wouldn't allow it to happen. But a while later, Becky would stand firm and officially break up with Amberlynn, citing that they were two different people with two different priorities and they simply had to grow separately.
I knew this was gonna happen. I was gonna cry. There's gonna be tears, there's gonna be nervous laughter, so that's just how I am.
Yeah.
I'm crazy, so.
I got you.
Yeah.
I got you. You got me.
Alright, so, do you want to tell them?
Okay. We have broke up. It happened Sunday. And it was initiated by me. We just want different things in life. You know, Amberlynn wants to leave Kentucky one day and she wants to see her family and she wants to move to another state. And it's like, this is my home and this is where my family is. And I don't want to leave.
Yet another breakup where Amber claimed they would remain friends and there were no problems. But from this point, it seemed like there was no chance of that happening. Amber would throw tons of shade at Becky, and in retaliation, Becky would do the same. During one of the live streams, Amber made a smart remark to Becky, and she whispered in Amber's ear, "Remember who helped you with the bathroom." Amber must have thought that we couldn't hear this, but eagle-eared viewers did. And it was very clear that there was no friendship between these two. And as 2021 went on, Becky would stop appearing in videos altogether. Becky would still live with Amber for a time while she got back up on her feet, trying to find a job, but this didn't mean that Amber was going to wait when finding a new girlfriend. And when she did, it would initiate one of the most boring periods of Amberlynn Reid content to this day, the Wifey era. Wifey was yet another girl that Amber had met online. Wifey would come to visit, but absolutely refused to have her face shown in Amber's videos. And as Becky moved out, Wifey seemingly moved in. Though Wifey wanted to keep her personal information private, Amber viewers quickly found out exactly who she was. But surprisingly, this didn't affect the relationship. At first, Wifey seemed head over heels in love with Amber, but as we've seen from the previous girlfriends, this is usually how things go. Wifey seemed very interested in Amber's weight loss journey, actively trying to encourage it at every opportunity, buying her exercise equipment, hygiene products, all kinds of stuff. But this year, we would receive no weigh-ins and nearly no weight loss talk. It seemed that Amber was comfortable with where she was at and settled into a content pattern that was very boring. Without Becky there, it was just Amber doing shopping hauls, and needless to say, viewership declined. Amber would also start making response videos to haters, feeding into that whole side of her audience even more. She was lurking on almost every forum that discussed her, using alt accounts to defend herself. 2021 was simply not a good year for Amber, despite the new girlfriend, and I'm sure to many surprise, 2022 wasn't much better. Amber would complain about increased mobility issues, increased health problems, and she would even attempt Ozempic for weight loss. It worked on her for a while, but she soon had to quit because her gallstones were exasperated by rapid weight loss, causing her first round of Ozempic to be a failure. But this was also during the great Ozempic shortage, so many assumed that because she was not medically prescribed this, she simply didn't have access to her next dose. But this wasn't the only major thing going on in the Amberverse, because she was actively feuding with some of her ex-girlfriends. It all started with Amberlynn blaming Becky for not going to get her cancer checked out sooner. Amber stated on Instagram that if she had not been with Becky, she probably would have gone to the doctor sooner. An absolutely horrible thing to say to Becky, whose mom died of cancer. After this, Amber would make a video talking about how she had to delete delete all content that included Becky, and that it was all out of respect. It was revealed that Amber was being overdramatic, and that Becky had only asked her to stop talking about her on video. Becky had moved on and simply didn't want anything else to do with this. As expected, Amber didn't delete any of the videos she promised. Things would be relatively boring until yet another feud with an ex-girlfriend popped up. Destiny had begun to stream and create content, and naturally people were curious as to her time as Amberlynn's girlfriend, causing Destiny to spill some absolutely embarrassing secrets, revealing that not only the shower conspiracy, but also the bra conspiracy were both true.
And then another thing with being at my mom had it wasn't a clawfoot bathtub, but it wasn't like a normal bathtub. I don't know how else to explain it. You see it in the videos a lot. Amberlynn did not shower the whole time we were at my mom's. She did not like the bathtub. She refused to even try to get in. I think she was having a hard time getting her leg over it. It was the thing, because it is pretty high sides. You know, she washed her hair. I'd help her wash her hair over the shower. And she just kind of washed with washcloths and wore plenty of deodorant. That's what she did. We had gotten to a big fight at some point, and I don't know what we were arguing about, but then I think either my mom or my mammy called me about going over there, because my mammy was going to my mom's, and she was like, hey, we're going to cook. You guys should come over. And I was like, heck yeah. You know, like I was ready to go. I hadn't seen my mom in a little while. I was ready to go over there and eat some good dinner and what have you. Well, Amberlynn didn't want to go, and I said, that's fine. You don't have to go. Because, I mean, like I said, all that drama from before with her and my mom, they were just tense. But she didn't want me to go. And I was like, okay, well, it's been a little while since I've been over there. Just, you know, I'm going to go over there. And she was just like throwing a big fit. I don't know how else to describe it. She was crying, and I know it was a Code Red Mountain Dew in my hand. She will swear to you that this didn't happen. I've talked to her about it before, and she swears it didn't happen. So I don't know why she thinks that, but why would I make this up? I would try to walk out of the house, and I know I had this Code Red Mountain Dew in my hand, and I'm just like, I'm gonna go. I'm just gonna go. So, and because we were already arguing, I was like, I don't want to be around you anyway right now. Like, we were arguing. I wanted to go see my mom. She starts screaming at me from the sliding glass doorway, saying that she's going to harm herself if I leave, and I don't know, just all this stuff, you know, just going nuts. And then I was like, no, you won't. You know, I said, that's not something to play around with. Just let me go see my mom. And she starts, like, coming at me, you know, like, ooh, ooh, ooh. So I get in my car, and I leave the can on my top of my car, and I close the door real quick, and I lock the door, and she's, like, telling me to get out, all this stuff, and she ends up throwing the can at my car. Made me mad. And I want to say I ended up not going. I don't think I did. I'm, like, 98% sure I did not go to my mom's. I ended up just going back inside and dealing with her.
In 10 years, it seemed like almost nothing had changed. It was now 2023, and Amber was almost exactly the same, if not worse. Most talk of weight loss or any kind of improvement had faded into the back view, and with the drama concerning Destiny, Amber had been exposed quite thoroughly. Whether it was all of this or the realization that Amber would never truly change, Wifey decided to break things off. Being one of the most boring Amberlynn Reid girlfriends, fans were ecstatic to see her leave. And when she did leave, she was efficient. She quickly cut off all contact with Amberlynn. And I highly doubt that we will ever hear from Wifey again. A silver lining to all of this is that Amber would reveal that it had been one Wifey the whole time. For those who don't know, throughout the Wifey era, Amber had claimed that she had broken up with multiple different people named Wifey. Chat saw this as an obvious lie to try to protect Wifey's identity, and would call Amber out on it as much as they could. I titled every other segment of this video after a girlfriend. but this one is just called post-Wifey. And that is because Amber has had numerous small-time relationships during this era. Whether they are real or fake is up in the air, but one thing we do know is that she has not had a serious long-term relationship since. Relatively nothing except for the Wifey breakup had happened in 2023, and you're going to notice that pattern as the years roll forward with Amberlynn lore, that it seems like with each year after 2019, less and less happens, with almost nothing happening during the Wifey era. It seemed like things were finally going to pick up again in January 2024. Amber was resolved more than ever to lose the weight, and she was actually making progress behind the scenes. So much so that midway through the month of January, she would give us a weigh-in at 507 pounds. Still up over 100 from her 2013 weight, but it was significant progress from what we saw in 2019. We would also notice another big change: Amber's mom. That's right, Amber's mom, who is fully recovered from her addiction problems, was now back in the picture. She was spending time with Amber in videos and was the person who would drive Amber to most of the places she needed to go. All of this seemed to have a positive effect on Amber as she continued with her weight loss journey, around the end of March weighing in at 489 pounds. Amber would also start talking about a new girlfriend she dubbed Valentine, stating that the relationship was purely online, but chat was speculative as she had never shown any proof of this woman's existence. Whether she is real or not, we will never know. But what we do know is that Amber would soon falter on her great progress she had made, admitting that she had been binging behind the scenes and eating unhealthily. It's like I told you guys, this is a cycle that has repeated itself for over 10 years now. To make up for this bump in the road, Amber would decide to start Ozempic yet again, but many speculate that the reason she had lost weight was that she was on it the whole time, and was simply now being open with us. You really can't blame Amber viewers for expecting everything to be a lie, because more often than not, they're right. Amber would use the Ozempic as an excuse to not diet in any way, shape, form, or fashion. She would eat any way that she wanted, discuss exercise very little, and expected Ozempic to pick up all of the slack, but was soon disappointed in the lack of progress she was making while injecting semaglutides. The next big thing to happen would be in June, and this would be when she claimed that her and Valentine had broken up. This threw more fuel on the fire as to the conspiracies of Valentine not even being real, as during every other one of Amber's breakups, she was absolutely devastated. And here she simply stated that they just had issues. Something is definitely fishy there, and I bet that we find out what it is in a couple of years. Amber quickly moved on, stating that she found a new girlfriend, Tommy. While little is known about Tommy, it is speculated that she is actually real, and that Amber had to end the fictitious relationship with Valentine to make room for Tommy. Amber says that for now the relationship is long distance, but they will be meeting soon. And that is where we find ourselves today in the Amberlynn Reid lore. 11 years all compressed down into this video. Over a decade, and almost no changes were made. Despite Amber's recent good progress, she still is above the weight that she started at in 2013 when she began her weight loss channel. It is this fact alone that has caused her so much hate. Throw on top the dozens of controversies and insensitive moments from Amber, and you begin to understand the position of Hater Nation. People who wanted the best for her, only to have their faces spat in, to have their interest called obsession, and their concern hate. You can try to tell her about the vicious cycle that she's found herself in for the past decade, but to no avail, as I believe for her, it is simply a reality too harsh to believe.